sounds intense.
Well, you have to ask each occupier, but it does sound intense.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not gonna use this whistle, I was used it last week. Here,
See what happens when your kids get on the
it's time to have
grass.
announcements, isn't it?
Well, I wanted to announce the illustrious Bell Star and our friend Rob.
Hello, Bellstar.
Oh, I thought I was gonna call you Bill. Hi, Rob. Rob's Pierre, we call our friend here.
From Sputum,
Rob Spear. Thank you, oh, yeah, well, sorry about that.
Well, Bill, you're right. We do have some announcements to make. On Friday, we're going to have an action called Occupy the Billionaires. This will happen on March 1st. There'll be a rally in Pacific Heights. Bill, didn't you hear about that guy Larry Ellison and some kind of deal about screwing the fishermen in San Francisco? Like we was gonna go to the guy's house and bitch about it, right?
Well, yeah, he's gonna get a whole pier at first. It was a really lush one at the bottom of Nob Hill there. And now they're talking about, well, he doesn't get that one, but he might get another one. The
Yeah.
crab fishermen have no place to go. The fishermen are gonna get cut off because they wanna have a pleasure little mall,
A regatta, yeah.
you know, and it's, oh, right, it's just for the World Cup.
Well, what
The
they-
World Cup. Now, I like sailing.
America's
But
Cup.
isn't that a little bit extreme in these times? Shouldn't we be taking people out? Now, look, I had a friend once who was a PhD in criminology, said that all these people who are, you know, like especially teenagers who get into trouble, to put them on a ship and working together to make a vessel run and run smoothly is an experience that changes them all. So why are we doing it for what? To see who's got the biggest, the longest, anyway, Rob, you got something to say?
Sounds like they're just celebrating extravagance as usual.
Yeah.
Say the magic word. Sure.
Well, basically, once again, they want to displace established small businesses and independent workers to park their fancy billion-dollar yachts next to Castanolas and Pier 39 and whatnot and get their shop on while they blast around with all their advertisements on their sails, like this Ellison guy rocking around in his private helicopter following his two floating advertisements. But announcements, Bell, that's what we're doing.
Time to move on there, friend.
So, anyhow, on Monday, March 5th, we have an action called Occupy Muni, Round 2, between the rank and file, disenfranchised bus drivers and their evil union management, who is dumping all their bread into political action councils to, you know, influence stuff. The stuff we're going to talk to Rob about, how this wealth, this capital, influences people's lives in a really bad way.
Well, it's the privatization of all of the things that we're supposed to have.
That's what they want to do. They want to sell a city function to a guy or
Yeah,
a group
the
of
electric
guys and
system.
women.
Listen, the Public Utilities Commission, they want to sell things, and now in Greece, like the Public Works, like the water pipes. Come on, people. The corporations have no power except the power of belief in them, because they're nothing but pieces of paper and contracts and people with debt certificates. I'm blowing a whistle on myself.
No. So in response to that type of money addictive idiocy, we're going to have a flash mob inside City Hall on Thursday, March 8th, in direct response to this.
March 8th is International Women's Day.
Cool. And on the 10th, the women's group is having a march.
Right.
So that's cool.
With an after party, the first
Yes.
OCU after party.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You gotta be there to find
Sparkly
the party.
fingers. Sparkly fingers. Good approval and direct response. That wraps it up for the announcements. And, you know, a lot of what's happening in San Francisco right now has everything to do with the inequality of wealth and the distribution of money in this town. I wanted to talk to Rob a little bit about Bell's thing with JP Morgan
Yeah, but
and
let's,
this Larry Ellison thing.
Well,
Like, what type of capital structures do you think
well,
started?
I think first we should go to Rob for his
trying to do?
information that will funnel right into what you're asking me to talk about.
Okay, so let's
Well,
flip it.
Well, this week is like any
But
other
you can
week
have the
here.
whistle.
All right.
The money oligarchy is once again, and still actually, leading the country. They've sold us on this bogus fiat currency that's never ever succeeded. It's always failed every time they've tried it throughout history. And these oligarchs like Mr. Ellis and the Rothschild banking family, who constantly fund both sides of any skirmish so that they can take the spoils by determining who wins through who they lend the most money.
Do you think that's what's happening with the corporations and the nonprofit corporations, both being capitalized in order to create the same kind of situation?
It's happening across the board. It's just a matter of time before it becomes blanket, complete. Unless something's done, which I think that's what Occupy is here for.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And how do we prevent our own Larry Ellisons from popping up in the nonprofits?
Oh, in the
I
nonprofits.
Well,
mean,
you
because,
can't- you can't with
because
the-
if
you can't with that
nonprofits are tending
situation.
towards corporatization, then it means that the people involved, their nature, is trending in a capital manner. So,
Well, it's more than a capital manner. The capital manner is the debt structure of what modern capitalism is based on. It's not the mercantilism of actual laissez-faire aspects to creating and being able to do business.
okay, so once again, we're talking about these billionaires compared to these independent fishermen who actually built San Francisco on the backs of their ancestors.
If they get a whole fleet, is what you're asking about, or the way that you asked it.
Well, just,
And then the whole thing is how do you stay away from that? It's through what used to be called eleemosynary instincts. And those who,
instincts.
yes, those who were able by the grace of this great country to make such money would plow a hell of a lot of it back in, because it's not possible anywhere else unless you play this game of transnational, multi-jurisdictional financial debt structure that buys up everything around you and promises to make you a slave. At which time, I guess it's time for me to talk about an actual way that I think that we can deal with this, and I call it the J.P. Morgan heist. And I want to solicit everybody's input for graphics. It's a coin shape. What we're thinking of is something a little larger that would be a 1-ounce silver medallion commemorative of Occupy. Now, besides the fact that it's sort of a Franklin Mint thing, but not, J.P. Morgan for over 10 years has held an artificial short and controlled the silver market. Silver should be far higher. In the past 2 weeks, the regulatory agency, the CME, Commodities Market Exchange, reduced their requirements on margin for silver. And J.P. Morgan now has a greater stranglehold over the price of silver, except if that silver is called to be used, to be purchased, whatever. And if we're making this medallion, we can take and make them crumble because they promise to give 16 or more times what they can deliver. That's the kind of shorting that they're talking about, the derivatives, the scandals, the gambling, the rest of it. And that, my friends, I think with this larger round medallion of Occupy with one of your graphics, or with the input of all of us as a keepsake and a way to break the banks, starting with J.P. Morgan.
Perhaps we could commemorate the 45-year anniversary of the first human being.
That's a great one.
That's a wonderful idea.
Ah, yes.
And we can
have a
reboot this.
naked woman on the coin. Or a naked couple, I suppose.
Or perhaps
Well, we
a
could.
man meditating
A man
as the
meditating.
original picture.
Yeah.
This is
Well,
third eye wide open.
But I always like the Occupy symbol of tents.
Yeah.
I think tents should be on there.
Therein lies the series.
Well, exactly, therein lies the appeal to all of you who might watch this piece.
Rob was,
That you will submit through our website, occupylivetv@gmail.com, your designs or your desire to create a design. And if you're an artist, to go ahead and contact us at radicalartiste@gmail.com. Or you want to throw a brick or give us a lump of coal through the email. Anyway, moving along here, we have this whole thing about repression and suppression of.
and as important as that is, I wanted to wrap up the J.P. Morgan with, Rob was explaining to me exactly how that would affect the events, how this small gesture of, you know, these people creating a coin, a commemorative medallion, as it were. No, this is all yours. How that would actually affect the larger structure, you know, by putting these into the hands of so many people and turning them onto the real value of things.
Yeah, well, I think it goes to the point of, you know, these banks